Hello and welcome to another episode of Supercoach Insider. My name is Ben.
And I'm Chris.
And thank you for joining us for our mid-pricer special madness, crazy, pick 'em all at your discretion, Chris. It's a podcast.
Yes, that is. It's actually pretty important this year. I think that with the lack of rookies, specifically in defence, but on other lines as well.
Specifically,
they're in the ocean. And I think mid-prices are going to be pretty important this year. But it's not about choosing mid-pricer, it's about choosing the right mid-pricer. And I don't think a team full of mid-prices is going to be good because there's so many good premiums.
Yep. And when one shits the bed, you can't really jump ship to another mid-pricer because you've got them all.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So there's definitely a few, and I think that most lines can live with, say, one mid-pricer. But if you have too many than that, outside of the ruck line, of course, it's going to be a big fail. It's going to be a
a fail, Chris.
Come on! I would have been on that if I had the button to press.
Yeah, because you would have known.
If I had the button to press, I would have been on that.
Because you would have known what you were thinking.
That's true.
I'm too busy waiting for you to say in a nutshell.
Yes. So these are the mid prices in a nutshell.
Yes, exactly.
Now let's get straight into it. So how we define mid prices, generally speaking, is going to be somewhere priced between 250K and 450K. Now, there are a couple that sort of sit outside of those guidelines, and we'll touch a little bit on that, but we're specifically going to try and stick in those price ranges.
Yeah, generally more the 300 to 350 is ideal. When you start getting closer to 400, it's a little bit more, you want them to be more of a keeper and that kind of thing. Generally, the cheaper, the better.
All right, now I'm going to start this off with 4 guys who I think could all be potential keepers, and I want you to give me your thoughts on them. I'm going to list them off for you. I'm going to go with Zach Williams, obviously. I'm going to go with Jordan Dawson, Alex Witherden, and Liam Duggan. All 4 guys have a role this season that could arguably make them keepers in their respective field. And for this season, I'm going to say that keeper in defense is going to be around about that 100 mark. I don't think a 95 is going to really justify it this season. I think you really want 100 out of them. So tell me your thoughts. The most expensive one at the moment is Jordan Dawson, 458K. Do you have any confidence in Jordan Dawson at this stage of the season?
If I did, I would have picked him over Mills last year in our bet, Chris.
That's true.
So what are you trying to double down and justify your shit pick?
No, there is a reason that I bring him up. Last season, he was definitely thrown around a little bit.
Or is it because Mills is going in the midfield? You're like, no, maybe now he will get that role that does well.
You're welcome. Yes, this is what I'm thinking now. And
right.
He actually was transitioned more to the back end, to behind the ball last season, the back end, and went really, really well. So I'm just going to try and bring up his statistics from last season, if I can bring up.
I think you're, Dawson's a bit of fish out of the water there, Chris.
It was one that I kind of sprung on you, didn't I?
Yes, fish out of the water, Dawson's Creek, some might say.
Oh, he doesn't love Dawson's Creek, by the way. Enough with your Dawson's Crack. Sorry, that was a little bit too much. All right, if we look at Dawson's Supercoach scoring from last season, from round 10, so just before their bye, he went 121, 91, 92, 110, 66, 113, and 103. So he definitely had a role change that shifted him behind the ball. And I see him as one that they definitely want the ball in his hands. The arguable thing as well is that if they're running Campbell, so they'll have, potentially Campbell as that second defender. Now they've got 3 guys in that defense that can all kick the football really well. And yes, you've got Lloyd, obviously, that's going to have a lot of that ball. Do we see Jordan Dawson as someone who can average 100 over a season? And that's where I sort of go, ooh.
The problem is with Sydney, if you mash too many of those in the defensive line, like really mash them you get Campbell soup.
I don't know how you get that from Jordan Dawson, but
You said Campbell.
Yeah, no, I get it. What's that got to do with Dawson?
I don't know.
So would we say pass?
I've had a week to my own thoughts, Chris. This is what I think of.
That's true. So would you pass? You don't think
pass.
Not over a whole season, right? I think you can go patches of form.
Draft league, and I can't believe you started with Dawson first.
Well, he's the most expensive, and I go
10% of the listeners have just logged out your first mid-pricer the ultimate mid-pricer guide.
Someone out there's going, you know what, Dawson is actually good. Look at those back end numbers, and know what, I'm not too.
Look at that 1% that own him.
I'm not too selfish. foolish to say, you know what?
And you
should
just
look at
said
him.
mid prices are to 450, which is already a stretch.
Yeah,
and
so
you've gone.
He's 458.
Yeah, so you've
slightly more expensive.
Okay, so you've started off and go right.
I'm breaking my rules straight up. Just
Crikey, right, guys, we've gone between 250 and 450, and the first one is some shit pick at 458.
He's $100 more than Zach Williams, who I'm about to open up with. All right?
Yeah, but Zach Williams is a good pick.
Okay, so tell me why Zach Williams is a good pick.
Oh, sorry, you're gonna have to start. I'm losing it.
All right, so look, Zach Williams, obviously with the role change, he's going to be playing midfield and forward, as opposed to off the half-back line, which obviously, hopefully, will increase his floor.
Fucking Dawson.
Dude, it's not a bad pick. I don't know why.
I was not expecting it. I was not. No, like for draft. For draft, I'm there. No, don't justify your opinion. Keep going.
Now I'm going further into it now. You pissed me off. You put me on tilt, and now I have to justify myself to you, which I shouldn't have to.
Okay. No, it's great for draft. It's, if anyway. Look, Zach Williams. He actually started forward some games for GWS, which was interesting. Had a delayed preseason, 2019. To 2020, missed round 1. Then he was injured round 4, and then he missed 4 rounds after that. Yeah, so Dawson averaged 99.42.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. He then averaged
7 games.
Yeah, on 7 games, still averaged under the 100, which he claimed was keeper status. So
99.4, mate.
Still under 100.
I think I'll be okay.
Still under 100. You're just breaking all your own rules tonight.
I'm just saying, there's a chance that he could go all right. And you know what?
I agree.
And if he does, I'm going to be the one flying a flag saying, you know what?
Okay,
you're welcome.
Fine. With the plethora, and we love that word here, of options in defence, you're thinking about starting Dawson over every other person?
I can't. No way. There's no way I could with his buy. I'm just saying he's an option out there. And we're a draft league as well, my friend.
Yes, I did say good for draft leagues.
All right. Okay, good. All right, I'm glad.
But you're also talking about mid-price. Yeah, okay,
you know what? Just shut up.
This is going to be the most off-the-cuff. Meanwhile, Chris is leading this investigation. I am the 2 cents.
This is already a good podcast.
I am the 2 cents.
What are you drinking?
Peroni Red, mate. They're imported.
What is that? I don't even know. Never know what he's doing.
Red, imported. I feel like my face is blurry tonight.
Fair enough.
Or I'm blurry.
So, yeah, the problem with Zach Williams is, can he play 22 games? He hasn't really, obviously since he did his Achilles injury a few years ago, he's really been unreliable. If you can think that he can play 22 games, playing a harder role as an inside midfielder and forward, then I think he's almost a lock, because I think he's got the potential to go a bit higher than 100. I think he's probably capped at around 105.
Yeah, he's a good price point, which is why he's in a lot of sides. For
42% ownership percentage, which is 42 more than Jordan Dawson.
Is he 0?
0%.
Oh, I thought I was being generous with a 1%. You're kidding me, Chris. Look, there's a good smoky if I've ever seen one.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Just dropping knowledge
now,
over here.
I'm actually considering, if I have the coin, starting Mills or starting McDonald over Williams.
Fair enough.
More because they're 35% less owned than I think Williams' body. If he tries to run through the
McDonald's
midfield.
Got a way bigger ceiling.
Yeah, but I meant as in, I'm just thinking about running that based on the durability and me hoping that he goes down with an injury, Williams. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Moving on, Alex Witherden. So your boy Alex Witherden. Obviously we know what Alex Witherden can do. He can rack up the pill.
He can let you down.
He can let you down. He can use it well.
He can get dropped to a 33-year-old. 34? How old is? Jeez.
Birchall. I don't even know. So he's so old.
Old man Birchall.
Here's my issue. Can he average 100? Because I know that he's got a high ceiling.
He can.
But
one
can
day.
he average 100?
He can. One day.
Well, he hasn't.
One day.
Is today not that day?
He's the type of player that could average 100.
So last year in 6 games, he averaged 94.3. So in a year where we had obviously a lot of scaling for his type,
it was based off mainly one game where he went ridiculous.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he had what was it? Just bring up
wrong year.
That was a wrong year. There we go. He had the 170, and then he had an 85, a 100, a 101, and 69.
Yep. What a lovely way to finish the season.
I like to start the season that way, actually.
Yeah, I like to start and finish the season with a good old meal for 2.
We're talking about poker hands over here. Man, this podcast has gone left to center.
That's what
look,
yeah.
I mean, look, personally, I can't see it. I do think that he's in the 22 at West Coast. And I do think they'll use him this year. I just can't see him being good enough And obviously he's not he's priced around the same price there. What is he? It's 456K. He's
Yep.
2K less than Zach Williams. I think you just go Zach Williams at that price. But look, there could be some West Coast fans out there. He's actually in 7% of teams, which is surprisingly high. Like that is a lot of teams.
When someone's heavily owned, you're better off just going with the James.
Yeah, I like it. Fair enough.
Going with the herd.
And the last one of this bunch is another West Coast player, Liam Duggan, which is arguably why there is a spot in the 22 for Alex Witherden at the moment. And Liam Duggan's obviously been picked. He's going to be playing midfield at the moment with the midfield injuries that they do have over there at West Coast. And he's been training as a midfielder and he's been playing midfield in the practice matches. He had some midfield time in the back end of last year and he averaged 98 over that back end run. So he's definitely a guy that can average that or close to 100. He's a little bit cheaper at 448. The problem that I find with it is as soon as Yo comes back, what happens to Duggan? Or does he get pushed out? Does he get pushed to a wing? Or does his role change? And he doesn't average well as a defender. So it's a very big risk to start with Duggan.
Yeah, if you start him and he doesn't do well, you've just dug in yourself a hole.
Yeah, pretty much it, right?
Yeah. But again, good for draft leagues. I think he's definitely got value there, so I'd be looking at him as well.
Definitely good for draft leagues.
What, like D4, D5, you'd be happy with?
I like
options.
Duggan.
Yep.
He's in 4% of size right now. Look, I'd love to take a chance on him. I would because it'd be hugely unique. But I think the risk of what happens the other side is too great.
Take him out, have some food, maybe some sex. See what happens.
See what happens.
Whammy.
As in Gene Sims at the plate. Oh, whammy. Whammy. Oh, yes, good one. All right. Well, those four, in terms of, because those are sort of what we call premium mid-price options. Do you have a clear option out of those? Would you...
Williams, clear choice. Pains me to say. I'd probably say Dawson, then Duggan. Oh, no, Duggan, then Dawson. Then who was the other guy? Oh, Witherden. Yep.
The Brisbane man is off Witherden. Is that because you're biased because he left you?
Stuff him.
Or is it because...
Stuff him.
Is that actually like just you being you? Who knows?
No, I don't know. I just think, midfield time there, I think Dawson does have a lot of value. We were on him last year and it just didn't pan out.
Yep.
For me, I think Witherden could be another year away. I think once Hearn goes, or if Hearn gets injured, I'd be definitely looking at him. But again, Witherden, I think draft leagues, and unfortunately, he's highly averaged anyway, which means he's highly priced, and people are going to be selecting him around that average anyway in draft leagues. So I don't think there's much value there at all.
No, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Now, someone who's in a 3% of teams, would you believe, is Jack Lukosius, who I think can definitely break out a little bit further. I don't know if I want to take that risk.
No, I think Lukosius should be going 90 to 100 this year. I think 90 plus draft leagues.
I actually think it's definitely possible.
Yeah, he passes the eye test too. He's just so good. He's so good to look at and watch, like football-wise, obviously,
No, completely
passes
agree with
the
you.
eye test. I'd like him.
Not a standard option though, would we say, at 430K?
No, I think
Just
from there you're better off going down to your harms ratios.
Yep. Now, someone who's still in teams, Jack Scrimshaw, is injured right now. He's in 1% of teams. If you have him, get him out. He's injured. He's not going to be playing.
Don't give me no 1%ers.
I'm just there's people out there that still have him in your team, and I don't know why they do. So they just need to get them out.
These people have no idea.
Yeah, pretty much. And look, if you keep going down the list, you'll eventually find James Harms at 350K. He's probably the next one that we need to talk about. As we noted on the Melbourne pod and in the pod just gone, James Harms is going to be playing more midfield, and in the practice match he played as a centre bounce and wing midfielder, running around there. And in 2019 he averaged 95 playing that exact same role. So I can see him. I think at least he goes 90 because he's got a really high floor.
I think high 80s to mid 90 would be good.
I don't mind the pick.
I don't mind taking the chance because at that price point, you could always then shuffle a couple things around. For instance, if maybe you have a Harms and then you've missed a mid-pricer in the midfield, you can then just throw Laird into that midfield and change it up somehow. Because in there are other options that you can do. His
buy obviously hurts him.
Yeah, I know. He looks good if he has the right role by the sounds of it, but he could also do more harms than good.
I respect that. That was a good one. What we do know is obviously Brayshaw and Viney didn't play in the practice match, so we would like to see a little bit more evidence. But what we did see was
Brayshaw's cooked.
We saw, is it Jermaine Jones, I think his name is, and we saw Sparrow both get very high CBAs in that game. And to me, that's them playing the role of Brayshaw and Viney, who would have otherwise been in there. And Harms played in his normal role, so he still got some CBAs. He still played wing. I don't think his role changes much. I don't think Sparrow and Jones are going to be in the equation for
Apparently, Sparrow was very vocal in the game as well. Very chirpy.
That was... You're on... You've spent
dad jokes. Here you go. Yeah.
You spent a week as a dad, and now all of a sudden your dad joke vibes are kind of
going up a little bit. Yeah.
I love it. So there's that. Now someone that I think definitely can improve his average, though I'm not sure where it lands, is Lachlan Scholl. He's actually in 2% of size right now, 343k. But with Miller going down, I see him as the guy that they're going to be using on that wing for an outlet.
Yeah, I think Scholl's the big improver from Miller going down.
Yep. We've also got to remember
he was spoken about highly already in the preseason. He won their time trial. Absolutely jetted them. And, he's one that has been spoken about highly. So, for me, even in draft leagues, I'm now thinking he's someone who could go...
Absolutely.
80-85. Not really for me in standard, but...
Yeah, not enough in standard.
No, at best, he's probably like a mid-80.
We also got to remember that Dode, whatever, I still don't know how to pronounce that properly. He's obviously still injured as well. And so he won't be playing early in the season. So there's definitely a Supercoach friendly role coming out of that backline from someone. I'm just not sure who gets that.
Well, is there a day that Dode's not injured? I think it's Dode, isn't it?
Oh, who knows? But yeah, I don't mind Lachlan Scholl in a draft league. I'm not really sure about standard. I think you're right on that one. Moving down, we can say a big fat no to Stephen Hill. I just wanted to highlight how much nope. I couldn't nope that any further if I wanted to.
Probably from there, it's like coming.
No, we're going to go over to Lachlan Ash. Now, Ash is someone who's 320k. I have been flirting with having him in at my standard team a lot. I actually think he can definitely go 80 plus, but at his price, it's really awkward to pick him. He's been touted as the guy. He took some kick-ins in the practice match. Touted as the guy that's got the most talent in that back line. He's got a lot of speed and dash, and he is an accumulator off half back, and has a precise kicking foot. I really like him out of him and Cumming, who averages more, it's Ash by a mile.
You know the problem, though?
What's that?
People have already been burnt by him.
Because they started him at 200k last year and he didn't really make them much coin, or?
No, because now he's Ash. Oh, you had no idea.
I did not see that coming. Oh, you see what I did there?
Oh, coming segue.
Oh.
Wow, we're really we're just tooting our own horns.
You're
tonight.
welcome for this fucking podcast. It's going well. I actually don't mind Ash. I think he might be a really good selection. He could be one that surprised a few. I think with the role, especially if Whitfield doesn't come back in round one or anytime soon. I mean, we still really don't know anything about Whitfield. Like they said that they're going to try and get him up for round one, but they just don't know yet. And it's going to be week to week. And then we've got other reports saying it's going to be 4 to 5 months.
But you like Ash, though. Like, how much do you like Ash? Do you earn for Ash? Is what I'm saying.
I fucking actually hate you right now.
Earn for Ash?
Yeah, sure.
I think you just got that.
I did because I thought you were paying out Ash.
No, as in Ash, as in an urn where they put ashes.
Oh,
Man,
yeah, no,
Chris,
that was highbrow stuff. You got to warn me when you go highbrow.
Chris is thinking I was talking about relationships.
Yeah, it was exactly where I was going. So look, I don't mind Ash as a pick. I think if you're going to pick one of those guys, I would definitely rather Ash than Cumming. However, you got to think about that cash saving. So if it's a standard league, you got to think about the money in this situation.
If it's standard, Cumming always comes first. I don't know what's wrong with me. This is what goes through my mind 24/7. Anytime I hear someone's name or something funny, that's it.
All right, so Lachlan Ash for keeper leagues and for normal draft size, though, I think will be a very good choice.
Yep.
Moving forward. Now going down the list a little bit further, obviously.
So Cumming, you think yes or no? Coming or going?
Cumming. I hate the pick. He was a little bit lost in the practice match. I just can't. I've never seen him at AFL level do anything good. I don't think he's up to the level. I just don't. That's me personally. I just don't think he is.
I don't mind it. I think the role's there for that potential, but I still can't trust him since he played that one game and burnt me as that early rookie brigade from a couple years back. So
288K for coming. I mean, it's enough to justify if you.
Jeez.
Like if you might as well
go to a red room for 280K. Woo!
That's going to be a good night.
Yeah. Oh. Jeez, and Chris, you could afford 3 blocks for that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
Oh wow, we are on
after
fire
our
today.
West Coast podcast. We won't go there.
No,
Chris? No,
exactly right.
We'll not.
Look, I just haven't seen it. He's not really getting a great role in the practice match that we've seen so far. I just don't like as a player playing AFL football. I don't think he's at the level personally. That's just me. I don't know. Other people are different. He could break out. I just haven't seen it. I think in 3 years he's played 11 total games. Like, show me the evidence that Isaac Cumming, outside of NEFL stats, is a good player or a good selection for SC, and I'll shake your hand because there is none. There's nothing to suggest he's a good player.
Yep, fair call. Next one, probably down. How far? Oh, Young and Clark. They're probably. I'm bigger on these next couple than some of these other.
So Hayden Young's the one that I like. I think that him and Ash have very similar scope. However, they're very different players. So Hayden Young is a little bit taller. He's 188 centimeters, more of an intercepting guy with an absolute weapon of a boot. Now he's been touted to be taking over the kickouts in the practice match. That didn't happen. Ryan took the lion's share of kickouts, and Hayden Young did take a couple. My problem with Young is that I think he's too similar to Ryan. And with Ryan in that side, I can't see Young getting a big enough role where he's going to be able to flourish. Like, I think eventually he'll be a 100-plus defender.
Do you think he's too young?
He might be just too young. That actually might be it. At 279K, he's still a guy that I would say at D6 I'd be comfortable with, or even maybe D5.
In draft leagues, I'd pick him. You know, I'd be happy to have him
for sure.
Yeah, like bench option, or at worst, I think he could go 80, 85.
I think he's got the scope to get to 80. Yeah. I just don't think he's got a
But he could also fall just short and end up with like a 75, a 77. True. Yeah.
I think you can do a lot worse with a guy at 280K. See, the difference is, so between him and Ash, let's say
40K.
It's 40K, yeah. But they could potentially both average the same. So why would you pay the extra for Ash when Young's right there?
Yep.
And so that's the argument. I don't know if you can really do anything. We should probably touch a little bit on Orazio Fantasia being a defender forward, but
B2, you getting happy?
I don't love the pick, but there's scoring history there. As a small forward, he's averaged quite well in the past, up to 85, I believe. So, yeah. And if we have a specific look, now he will be playing obviously as a small forward at Port. Let me just bring up his stats. He's
a new age Motlop. While you're finding that one, the one I do also rate as well is Clark from Geelong. A very interesting one. He's been spoken about. Could get a run, sort of playing the defensive and playing also on the wing because Harry Taylor's gone. Blycalfs is pushing into that, deep in defence as that accountable role. Mm-hmm. That kind of frees up a little bit on the wing. So apparently Clark, who did impress, he looked really good. Not last year, the year before. He's still quite cheap, and he's one that I'm now looking at least. I was a bit iffy on him being best 22, but I've been told by a few Mad Cat supporters that he's in. And that I should just back him in and stop being a little bitch.
The problem is, even if he is best 22 for round one, I can't imagine him having good job security for 22 rounds or for the first 10 rounds even.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying it's hard.
That's, I don't know. It's questionable because you know what they do, what Chris Scott does? He rotates his team all the time. They've got a very strong squad and a very deep squad. Is he in the best 25? Probably. Is he best 22 every week? I don't know about that. I don't know. I like him as a player and I think he's got a lot of talent. I just don't know if it's there.
Imagine being like his house though, just the amount he rotates. He just everything out in the field, like Bevo, he goes home and goes, you know what, let's just rearrange his whole fucking house for no reason. Why not?
Newer is always better. Write that down, Barney Stinson.
Worrying is like a rocking chair. Write that down.
Thank you very much.
Got fat fingers.
So Orazio Fantasia averaged 83 in 2018, but only over 13 games. He's never played a full season. The most ever played was 2016 and 17. He played 19 games. So he's obviously a flight risk, but he does have some decent scoring history. Unfortunately, those other years were all basically, high 60s, low 70s. And the most 2 recent years was 57 and 56.
The benefit, though, being Port Adelaide, who could be one of the top 4 side.
Absolutely.
He could get
just like Danaher going to Brisbane. It's the same as Orazio going to... As soon as you leave Essendon, you become an instantly better player.
The second you move to a finals team, Danaher could double his average.
Someone who can win a final in less than 6,000 days.
It can't be 6,000. It's not 20 years, Chris.
6,000 days since...
No. Where's the tracker? I'm going to Google that. You keep going.
Yeah, you're
so
welcome.
you talk about...
All right, so moving on to the... So I think that's pretty much it for the defenders. I'm just going to have a quick squiz down here. Yes. So outside of that, you move below that 250 bracket, so we'll stop it there. Now, if you had to do a one...
Yeah, okay.
I told you.
5th of February, 6,000 days. Wow. Man, no wonder they're so upset.
You're welcome. So if you had to pick a 1, 2, 3 on your mid-prices line, let's keep out... the premium mid prices. Let's keep out, say, your Zach Williams, etc., your Liam Duggan, and let's go with the guys that are slightly under that price bracket. What are you thinking?
Let's leave them in.
All right.
I'm going...
Because you don't have enough that you like?
No. Williams 1, Harms 2. Man, that sucks. Yeah. Williams 1, Harms 2. That's me.
Really? Oh, I'm going to add Young to the end of that list. I think that if you're going that price point as a stepping stone player,
then I'd rather go...
I think he's the best stepping stone player.
Then I'd rather go Clark just based on price point, really.
All right, well, I don't mind Clark either, but well done, mate. We got there in the end.
Yeah, Jesus.
All right.
Let's move this on.
Now, we won't do rucks, but we're just going to go straight into midfielders here, and we'll drop it down to 450K, and we'll see what we have a look at.
Start with Taranto.
So there's a couple... Okay, so there is, I would say, arguably 3 or 4 in this mix as well as... So Taranto's one of them at 450K for Taranto. Let's get his actual price, 453. So he's slightly above that. In fact, if you just want to spend 5K more, you can get Devon Smith for 458.
Oh wow! Someone actually busted my chops saying that Corey was going to start Devon Smith again this year.
No
and I sent him a message. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, you're starting Devon Smith again?" And I'll see if I can find his message. God, it was funny.
Dude, no, he's probably just trolling. There's no way he's
I think someone trolled me, and I
okay.
messaged him directly, being like, "What?"
Very cool. So look, we did speak a little bit about Taranto on the last pod. Obviously, Taranto's a guy that needs to be around the ball if he's going to score premium points. And he would be, if you're picking this guy, you pick him as a keeper. You're not picking him really to make money. You want him to be a keeper. Now, in the midfield line, I'd say that you're looking at probably around, you need to see that they're going to be able to average you 105 plus to make it valid at this point. So can Taranto average 105? In my opinion, yes, he can. He's already shown as a 23-year-old that I think he was 23. Let me just double check that he can average over 100 over the course of a season with the right role. So we know that the pedigree's there. He's obviously an accumulator. If he just tied up his ball use, he would be there 100% already.
So I just saw Corey's message. I just said, hey, I said, tell me you aren't running Devon Smith again. And he said, F that dog C. Shout out to Corey.
Well done.
Seeing we are doing a little shout out, we're going to have a little stop and segment here at the 28-minute 45-second mark. SC Insider 100, all our socials, you can find us online. Yeah, that's fine. YouTube, you can also search for us there at so on YouTube, Supercoach Insider. I also do need to give a little shout out to Supercoach Championship rings. They have sponsored us and provided us for a ring for the second year in a row. We have had good dealings with them. Personally, they sent it to my house really prompt as well as last year, so we've received ours. Also, SC Elites, again, also have nothing but nice things to say. So we're going to share as well the link in our bio and the promo code if you are interested in grabbing a ring. Obviously, any post and any online purchases, etc., that's all your own business and risks. However, again, I think they are boss-ass looking rings and they are super... good for banter worthiness. So if you would like one, do so. You can, I believe you can put it through on your credit card, PayPal, etc. If you are interested, go for it and live like a king.
I like it. The rings do look actually pretty good.
They look mad.
This year's one looks really good.
Yeah, they do look good.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, just back onto Taranto. So we just had a little segue. I like that.
Yeah. Sorry, just business. Business.
Speaking of King, so Taranto was 21 when he posted that 102 average in 2019. He's now 23 years old, just turned 23. He's got the pedigree. He's got the. It looks like he's got the role at this early stage. I do think that he's a guy that he's got a fairly good ceiling. So he was obviously injured early last year and then came back at the back end, but played a mainly forward role. And now he's going to be playing a lot in the midfield. But in his 2019 year, where he did average 102, he had scores of 144, 132, 131, and then a bunch of scores around that 110 mark: 112, 112, 113. 111, 113, 112. So definitely a guy that has the potential to do that and go 105. And in my opinion, he's the best of this bunch, but we'll go through the other guys that people are looking at. Taranto is currently in 15% of sides, which is
That's a
massive.
lot.
That is massive for this guy, but good on him. Now, a guy that unfortunately just got injured, which is why he's probably not in a lot of teams right now, is Dion Prestia.
Yes.
Maybe one to watch in your draft leagues or see when he's coming back to full fitness.
Yeah, was it a quad or a hammy? It was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely one that can average you, again, 105 minimum. I think in that period, he's only in 1% of teams. I'd probably trade him out right now because I don't think he's starting round one. But definitely one to keep an eye on during the season. And again, another one around that price is Ben Cunnington. Now, that's probably the I'd suppose the big three around that. I was big on Cunnington earlier. What are your thoughts, mate? Tell me what you think about Cunnington.
Well, look, he looks like an old man, but he's only 30 this year. So
He does look like an old.
But again, like people go, oh no, he's got to be as old as Hearn because he looks 5 years older than Hearn. So I don't know.
He's not very cunning, is he?
Well, you're saying you're big on the cunning, and I was like, a cunning what? But look, he had a back issue. Ended his was it?
He's had back issues for
the last couple of years.
Quite
nearly,
a few
Oh,
years,
so
yeah.
no, he had a really good back end of 2019 as well, though. Now here's the issue though. 2019 he started off on fire, averaging 120. The back end though, he actually averaged 83 the last 8 rounds and killed it. He averaged 114 the first 7.
Yep.
So injury impacted 2020. People are like, oh, but he's a great scorer and
Up until the buys, he was absolutely.
Well, he was killing
smashing
it, 114. And I think people still get caught thinking that he was actually premium.
Yep.
And they're thinking they can get a premium cheap. And I'm like, no, he's not top 10. He's averaged like 100 flat for the last 5-7 years.
Cunnington does this most seasons. He goes in this purple patch of 4 or 5 games and he goes freaking insane. And everyone goes, oh shit, let's have a look at Cunnington. And it's great for draft because he can do that for you.
Or Shield. Shield does the same. Goes 5 games big and then you're like, woohoo. And then, yep.
So for me, it's just like the round 1 last year goes 185, and then we have that big gap to round 2, and people are like, "Oh, Cunnington, he's going to go huge," blah blah, and then it didn't happen, obviously, and then he got injured with his back. So now the good news is with this Cunnington, he's definitely going to get the role. So he's definitely going to be an inside midfielder there. Unfortunately, he plays for North. I mean, there's 22 of them at least, and look, I can see him as a guy that has the potential to go 105 at his absolute peak best. Like if he has a perfect season, doesn't get injured, he can go 105.
Well, I guess I wonder if he plays more time on ground though. He's only ever been a 75% kind of guy.
I don't know. They're trying to blood all the youth.
Yeah, I think he just plays his role. He goes off and let the young kids run around.
I mean, look, if they were in like a competitive year where they think they're going to make finals and whatever, and they're actually wanting to win,
And this is 2034.
yeah, exactly right.
Sorry, North.
When he turns 37, I can see him, playing more midfield time and playing more time on ground because they want to win more games. But really, they're in a development phase. They want to get some game time and get some midfield time into these kids.
No point.
They want to develop.
No point burning him out this year. Kind of like
Exactly
Fife
right.
last year, they put him forward a bit more because there's no point in burning him out for a year. You're not going to win finals.
No, I absolutely agree. So
Yeah,
for
right.
me, it does not make sense to start someone like a Cunnington because I don't think he's going to be a keeper.
How much was a Sloan? He'd be more than Taranto.
471.
Yeah,
It's
just
a
over.
little bit
Okay.
too much.
Another
for
good
my
one for
liking.
draft leagues though. Sloan couldn't even get on the park last year. Basically, they found it hard to get him on the park, but having a good preseason, Sloan, so he is definitely a nice little draft sleeper there. I think everyone's I think he's 30 as well, or 29, 30. People are overestimating underestimating, Sloan, and I think he's someone who could end up going a 105 again.
I've got him in a keeper, and I think it's great having him there.
I traded you him, remember?
Yeah, I think he's going to go great. I mean, he's a guy that has traditionally gone somewhere between 100 to 115 in any given year. You know, like he's got
and
the
a big
scope
ceiling
to do it.
too. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so moving on to the next one, and I think probably the biggest one really is going to be Tom Green at 350k. I'll just bring him up quickly. Here we go, 351k. Tom Green, he's currently in 10% offside. I cannot believe.
No, avoid that. Tell you what, the grass is greener on the other side, folks. Don't pick him.
Oh, 10%, man.
That's a big risk for a second-year player. He's not even going to get the midfield time.
Well,
GWS,
I think he might get some midtime.
GWS are still stacked though. How? Caldwell couldn't even play midfield, right? Haitley couldn't even play midfield. They played all these other shit roles. How is he going to play midfield?
Mainly because Hopper's actually not a very good player.
Hopper's still in there more than he will be.
He's pretty good.
Ward's gone somewhere else, but that doesn't matter because you still have Cornelio, Kelly.
Speaking of this, so Ward's changed roles again, which opens up the door for, this is what very much opened up the door for Ashen coming in that back line and potentially Weir. He's actually playing wing and second ruck because they don't, with Flynn on there, that he was playing like as a backup ruckman that is a second midfielder that can run around after the ball goes up. Very, very strange role. And I'm definitely not suggesting that Ward is Supercoach relevant.
Draft, maybe.
But we thought he was going to be playing in the back pocket and taking over Heath Shaw's role. Don't think that's happening now. And that opens up the door for someone like a Jacob Weir or coming back in that back line or whatever it might be. So, very, very interesting. Now, back on to Tom Green. Here's the reason why Tom Green can work. If he gets bulk role, and I don't know if he will.
See,
but he would have to get it.
Clayton Oliver got bulk role because they needed that inside bull. Right now, I'm saying like Tom Green, he looks like a great player and he is that inside contested player. But you've still got Cornelio, Kelly, Taranto, right? Then you've got Hopper. You've got these other guys that can do an inside role, and I don't see him getting peak minutes in the midfield.
I don't think he's in the top 3-4. Actually, I don't think he's in the top 4. I think he might be 5th. That's in terms of CBA attendance. One thing that Tom Green does have going for him is his absolute ridiculous pedigree of contested possessions. He's basically a better version of Patrick Cripps, and I know that is a very big thing to say.
I think you're going to talk about his red hair, pedigree of red hair.
He's got a great pedigree.
Great pedigree.
Straight from the Irish. And so he's actually the highest ever recorded for as a junior level player contested possession rate ever. So as a inside midfielder, if he gets the role, he is going to be a Supercoach jet. I just don't think it's going to be enough this season to warrant having him as a starting selection because at 350k, I think you need him to be a keeper.
And he's a midfielder. If he was a forward, then I see a bit more of the appeal. Picking him as a midfielder, I think, is absolutely ludicrous.
He'd have to average 95 to even be a stepping stone. And then
you'd still have to move him on. Caldwell,
you'd have to get him to an Uber premium.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
you're hoping he will make you 150, but how's he going to get to 500? He's going to have to average you over 100.
Nah, I think like 95 will get you there. Like I think it's potentially like it could potentially happen, but the risk versus it, like. I'm not sure it's worth the risk. I just don't think so. Especially when, so if he was the only one available at that price point, I'd be like, yep, okay, fair enough. I can understand why you wouldn't. But there's a guy called Dyson Heppel that is playing off a halfback flank, who has a pedigree playing off a halfback flank, averaging anywhere between 80 to low 90s. As a guy that's going to be the distributor with a team that's going to get the ball in their defense pretty much all game, I don't know if it... And you can't run both, can you? You can't run Green and Heppel.
You could run two mid-price mids because everywhere else sucks for rookies at the moment. So if you're running real deep back ends, you're going to have to sacrifice somewhere.
The midfield is somewhere where we've got rookies.
Yeah, so you say so far.
At the moment,
until everything's thrown up on its head this week.
That's true. Look, Dyson Heppel's in 18% of teams. He's priced at 319k. I just like the fact that it's not something he hasn't done before. He was obviously introduced as a rookie through the defense and off the half back line. So I think that Dyson Heppel is definitely someone that can at least average you say 80, and I'd hazard a guess that it could be as high as 90. Obviously the role means that there's going to be a high floor. Unfortunately, probably also means it's going to be a low ceiling. But if you have a look at his rookie numbers when he started out in 2011, he averaged 83.5 in a halfback role, played 22 games. In 2012, he played 20 games, averaged 84.1. And in 2013, he played 19 games and averaged 91.1. He moved to the midfield in 2014 and started averaging in those 100 to 105 sort of averages. I think where he sits is between that 83 and 91. I think he's a great selection for someone who's a stepping stone to an Uber premium. So if you're looking at getting a Neil or an Oliver or someone that's going to be that 650K mark, Dyson Heppel's a guy that can make you 150, potentially 200K, probably not. Maybe he'll make it 175 if he's going to be averaging, say, a low 90. Maybe has a couple of good games, spikes in price, and you can offload him. I think he's the one at that price, but obviously it's very early. 18% of teams means that obviously people do have an eye on him, so it's not like he's unknown. But the other one I want to talk about who could potentially surprise is a little bit more expensive at 338K, and that's Dan Henneberry, whose people have actually just completely forgotten about.
No, well, because he was looking great until he didn't.
Well, yeah, the problem with Hanbury is obviously his body. He got injured again, didn't he? Or
let me find
something light. I don't think it's too smashing, but I think he'll play.
No, so he was doing well, right? So he was smashing at preseason, running with Billings, right? Looked really good, increased his running capacity, one of his strengths. So he killed it. First day back on the time trial, he won the Saints time trial, right? Mm-hmm. Absolutely flying, as they always say. And then he did his calf again. So... yeah, I'm just hoping he's okay for round one. There's plenty of water to go under the bridge. February 19.
So it was only recent. Okay, so you're still hoping he can be there for round one. Now,
this is where you spreadsheet things.
Definitely a draft relevant selection.
Yeah.
I don't think that you want to take that risk in standard, but I think that he's one that could definitely get it if he gets the role, which he definitely will because he's a midfielder and that's all he can pretty much do. Moving on to someone who's in 2% of sides, and I don't know why he's in that many, is Nick Blakey. Now, he has, obviously, he's a forward mid, 318K, so he's the same price as Heppel, but he's also a forward mid, so he's got that forward flexibility. He's been playing off a wing and been training with the midfield group all preseason. I just don't think personally he has a Supercoach role or is an accumulator enough, especially on a wing, to make him relevant in standard at all. But definitely someone you can maybe pick up.
He's so skinny.
In a draft. He's talented, but he just doesn't get enough of the ball.
He's so skinny. I'm not going to do the meatloaf, but I mean, you see his name, Mick Blakey. It's more like Nick Breakey. He's a twig. Put on some pounds, boy.
Jakey about to make a big mistakey. Yes.
No, I won't make out with you. That's the level of my insults right now.
Fair enough.
Get on with the chlorophyll.
Now, next one, 313K, Braden Sire, who did play in the practice match and played pretty well. Thoughts on Braden Sire?
No.
Just neither here nor there. Even if he's got the role, you just don't see it. Rather just wait.
I'd rather wait and see her.
Fair enough. And next one, Jackson Haitley, 310K in 13% of teams.
Yeah.
There's a lot of red flags happening with Jackson Haitley right now, and I don't know if I like the selection. I don't know if 13%...
look, I've been tempted, and I had some really good friends of mine say, get off the train. Do not do it. Thank me later. So, no.
Okay, so a little bit of information about why there's these red flags popping up is that every time someone in the media brings up Jackson Haitley, the coach says, oh, yeah, he'll be playing forward. They'll be playing a mixture of forward, or there's some... oh, yeah, he floats through that midfield. The last quote was he's there to make up some minutes in the midfield because they had a couple of guys out. Now, every time they talk about him, they talk about making up minutes or he's going to be playing a mixture of forward and mid. It's not, I'm going to be a midfielder. If he was going to be a midfielder, I can guarantee you he'd be in a lot more sides than 13%. I just have this big red flag saying just don't pick him. And I'm worried. I'm very worried about the selection of Jackson Haitley. So, for me, it's too much risk.
All right, so you don't love you hate Lee.
I definitely hate Lee, unfortunately. Now moving down again, so we're actually just about to hit the 250K mark, but I just wanted to assure the 3% of people who have Rory Atkins, he's actually injured.
Yes. Atkins is end of season shoulder surgery, trained before the main group February 17, so he's not even with the main group yet. Yeah. So, he could come through, but I just think interrupted season. Although, mind you, shoulder surgery, I don't know how he got that. He never gets a tackle. He's so much on the
You'd
outside.
have to lay a tackle to get injured on the shoulder.
He probably ran himself into a dislocation. That's all. That's the best contact he's getting, the seagull.
It was the impacts from the ground.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not
coursing through his body.
It's not from a player,
Oh, my God. That's
It's true, though.
It's so true.
Jeez.
All right, so your mid-price options, mate. Tell me what
closest he gets to a contest is at quarter time huddle.
It's a true story. True story. This was year 11 maybe. There was an under nines, a 9-a-side comp, AFL comp that we were in for school, and we actually won the school competition across Queensland, which was pretty awesome. Anyway, we won, the siren goes and everyone's going, yes. And I'm like, yeah, oh my God, this is amazing. And we all get in the huddle. My little finger gets caught in someone's jersey and twists and gets dislocated in the celebration huddle. And so I had to walk over to the trainer after the game's finished and the siren's going to pop my little finger back in. Ouch. And to this day, it's still, it's still bent, still crooked. So that's the story of how I dislocated my little finger inside someone's jersey. Yeah, you're welcome. That's like Darwin Award shit. That's what that is. Now, so mid prices, mate, in midfield. Which one do you like?
Heppel number one for me, probably. Yep. Green number two, based on potential, not the fact that I actually like him. Taranto I'd have as your expensive. He's probably number one. Then Heppel. I'd say Heppel number one based on price. Then Taranto for me, based on potential, and then Green based on he could do it, but I don't believe it. So.
I think the only one out of them that can be a premium is Taranto, so I will go one Taranto. But I think you're right in exactly the reasons you said.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
If you're looking for a stepping stone, Heppel's the one. If you're looking for a keeper, Taranto's the one, and Tom Green's somewhere in between.
Yeah. Here's the thing with Heppel though, is I don't expect him to average 100. Right, he'll be playing a different role. I think again he has job security. He's going to be playing. Yes, I would like him to earn 150K. I will. At this point, based on how weird this season is, I'd settle for a sneaky 100 or anywhere 100 to 150 to get me close enough to go one up, one down, get me a premium. Because with all these rookies and stuff, I'm not sure if there's going to be that many coming through in order to be able to do multiple downs to then get an up. So, yes.
Fair enough. All right, well, let's move on to the forward line now and some mid-prices there. I'm going to start us off with someone a little bit over that price mark at 462,000. And it's going to be Shea Bolton. Shea Bolton has the potential, but maybe not necessarily the role to be able to do what we all know that he can. Now, he is an absolute jet when he's on.
Now, I don't know. I know a lot of people are big on him, right? Now, it's probably because he averaged 90 his last 10 rounds, but he also averaged 77 the first 5. Someone who is 462, averaging 90 flat over a 10-round period...
doesn't scream like... And you know what?
It's the hype. It's the preseason hype. And everyone's like, oh, Bolton's he's killing it. He looks flashy for a few games and then he's going to average 100 or 95. I don't see it.
He has the Richmond curse. And the curse of Richmond is that there's no real one player that just goes and absolutely demolishes it. But if you do see his 2017, 2018, his progression is pretty good. So he obviously didn't play many games in 2017. He only played the 6 games, average of 49. In 2018, he only played the 3 games and only averaged 30. But then obviously 2019 picked it up, 16 games and 70 average, and then obviously went to 86 average last year in 2020. So I see that there's a progression there.
Fuel the jet.
Do you see him playing enough midfield time to more increase?
Maybe.
I don't see it this year.
It's possible, but again, I'm thinking 90. Draft leagues, maybe like a 90-ish. Yep. I mean, what's he priced at? 86.1. So there's not even that much meat on the bone. I'm thinking, you could pick him around a 90, but I'm not banking on him going 100.
Too many Richmond fans will pick him up early,
how spoiled are we for forward options? Yes, they're not all killing it at the moment, but again, side bottom, all these other guys, I would take them after they drop some coin, and I think you're better off going for those guys than picking your Rainers, your Boltons, etc. The only exception for me is Segway Heaney.
Very good segue. And it is actually in 19% of teams.
Yeah, because he's cheap.
He is cheap. He always is cheap, and he'll even be to upgrade. He'll also be probably cheap. And look, what we know about Heaney is his consistency. So yes, unfortunately, he's had a little bit of a tough run with injuries. However, if you look at his history, he actually played 20 games in 2016, 18 games in 2017, 21 games in 2018, and 22 games in 2019. So even though it feels like he's always injured, he just always cops a knock. He'll in the middle of a game and he'll play out the game.
And he's basically averaged, mid-90s to high 90s for 4 years?
Yeah, and a lot of that was as a forward too. So 97.6 in 2017, 97.5 in 2018, 94 and 94 in both 2019
Do you
and
think he's still a forward this year, or do you think he's getting in the mix a bit more?
The problem is Buddy. As long as Buddy is out of that forward line, he will have to play forward. It's as simple as that. And you've got now Mills moving into that midfield, which I think was...
I think maybe if Parker goes forward, I could see Heaney going into the mid to give Parker a break.
Yeah, he'll jump in there a little bit, but he won't get more than 35% mid-time.
Fair call.
He'll play mainly as a forward. And look, that might be good enough. Because again, he's probably going to be a guy that will average you somewhere between 92 to 97 points per game. Is that okay? It's definitely okay.
Yeah.
I don't see an issue with that. He's at a price point where it's enough to be like, yep. Well, the problem is you can't see a real top end. So he's not going to explode. He's always going to be affordable.
Yeah, he's affordable because he has great games and then drops in the odd stinker of a 40 or a 60.
Yeah, or he gets knocked out by taking a huge hanger, whatever it might be.
I like him though. I like to watch him.
I do. He's an awesome player to have.
True.
Now, just slightly under that, Toby Green's actually at 448k at 5% of teams. I don't like Toby Green because I just don't like the fact that there's so many midfielders and he's a better forward. Yeah, and it's as simple as that.
And yeah, Cameron now gone. They need him more forward. He will be one of their best shots at goal.
I don't mind him in draft leagues though, because here's what happens: Josh Kelly goes down and gets injured. Toby Green straight into that midfield, and then for 5 games he's got
Green.
Or Tom Green, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Gets injured, 4 games out, bang! All of a sudden, Toby Green's got 60% mid-time or 70% mid-time and dropping 120s every week.
Yeah, a little bit of meat on the bone. He did do his hamstring on 41, so his true average is 87. So in draft leagues, he is, about 3.5 points underpriced?
Yep. Moving on, Jordan De Goey, 4% of teams, and he's at 435k. And I think with De Goey, it's all hype or potential, but nothing really there. What do you reckon?
I think it's definitely possible. It's possible.
Yes, it's possible because he's going to have the role. Now, having said that, his preseason was going absolutely swimmingly until he decided that he would have an abdominal strain for some reason. And then he got, kicked in the calf last week by a player in a tackle or something like that. Then he had to sit out the practice match. The talk is that he'll probably play in the Amy series. So hopefully he does. And then that will be, if he goes 120 or something in the practice match, how many teams do you reckon he's in next week?
A lot. Definitely a lot. Move down the list though. Let's go to the relevant ones that we've already spoken about. In Chris's team reveal.
You love your Zach.
Zach Bailey's impressive. He gets a little bit more midfield time. Grid for draft leagues, I think. Bailey this year. I think he's all right.
Not bad. Now, Tom Phillips in 11% of teams. Now, he's been thrown into inside mid-roll and then switching outside to a wing, but he hasn't had a lot of CBAs in that practice match, so... that CBA role that he was touted for, I think that's a wash.
It'll be wing. I think they're saying he could go into the CBA, and that's if they're desperate enough. Everyone's cooked. Everyone's tired. Diego Mira's got another sore knee, so, last
Tom
quarter.
Mitchell is potentially going to be even playing round 1. And then you've got Chad Wingard. He's obviously injured at the moment. He's coming back into that side. There is a lot of players that are going to replace that, even if he does get it early.
Yeah, inside mid is not Phillips's go-to.
I actually think that Phillips is a very bad pick, and not only because he's a terrible footballer, but also because he's terrible at Supercoach. Wow, I shouldn't.
It's true.
Just burning him. It's fair. It's a fair call. We've already spoken about Cam Rayner on the previous podcast, but you just want to touch a little bit on old Rayner?
Rayner, I think, good for draft leagues. Don't pick him in your keeper. If you're unsure, go back to Chris's team
podcast,
and have a look at that. Basically, he's too much. He's not going to be top 6. Don't even pick him in a standard context. He's nearly 400k, so you might as well just go get a premium or go down to one of the other better, cheaper options. Make yourself some cash.
I completely agree with you, and I'm going to touch on the guy that I had in my team for pretty much most of the preseason until about 2 weeks ago, and that's Connor Rosie at 377k. He's in 9% of teams, so a lot of people still have him.
Just couldn't foot the bill.
Oh, pun intended. So as you were just alluding to there, he still has that foot issue that was lingering him last year that was keeping him out of the midfield rotations.
Yep, no stress.
Another one.
No stress fracture. He's good. He's good.
He saw a specialist last week and they basically said he's going to have to be managed. And what I think that means is that those mid rotations he was going to get.
Yep.
So I think that puts Sam Powell-Pepper back in the frame to go into the midfield again.
Yeah, they saw a specialist. They were worried, but apparently everything is just rosy.
I was not knowing where you were going with that.
I don't know, man.
And I was glad that I didn't because it was even better when I finally came to the realization that you were making a joke.
Yes.
Tired. I dig that. Now the next one down is obviously going to be Caldwell. Now we've spoken again about Caldwell on the last podcast. Lion's share of CBAs at Essendon, so definitely a huge role change, huge potential for big scoring. He's never really been an accumulator throughout his career, even as a junior, but he was always hampered by injury is another thing that we should probably say. However, he was arguably one of the top midfield prospects in his draft year, and they knew the potential. They just didn't have the ability to see it. So definitely one that I think has the opportunity to even potentially average, say, 95-ish and become a keeper. Unfortunately, his price is a little bit too high to be a stepping stone, so you really got to be picking him to be a keeper. Otherwise, you're going to have to trade him and he's going to cost you a little bit. But I do not mind the old Jai Caldwell. And moving down a little bit further, you love Jack Riewoldt, don't you, mate?
Jack Riewoldt? No, I was going to say, do you know Caldwell's mentor?
No, I don't.
Daniel Wells, the former North Melbourne.
Really?
Yeah.
Wells, yeah.
Whenever it gets into if it gets into trouble, he just calls Wells. Calls Wells.
Is that actually his mentor? Or you just made that up?
No, I made it up. Yeah. If he gets in trouble, he calls Wells.
Disgustingly bad. I just want to say.
I'm tired. This is what you're going to get, everyone, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, just a quick note. I won't touch him too much. Jake Riccardi, 336k, probably going to play round 1 now because Hogan is doubtful for round 1. I just don't think he is going to be in their best 22 on a week-to-week basis if he's fit. Someone I want to highlight is Nick Hind. He looks to be in the 22 as a halfback flanker, rebounder. Don't think he's going to be standard relevant.
Back flank, good for a draft league. I think Hind could be all right.
Definitely one for a draft
late if you have a big league, or a late pick. Definitely if you get want something speculative.
Now, obviously, Nick Blakey is selectable here as a forward, so we did go through him a little bit in the midfield. And then we moved down. Luke Jackson's someone that I think eventually will be good and Supercoach relevant, but not right now. Franklin's still in 2% of teams. How is that even a thing?
Well, maybe he's coming back.
Is he really? I think you got to go all the way down to Zeeble really at this price point. So moving on down, Zeeble is priced at 257k. And I think that he's arguably one of the best cash cows in the position. He's obviously moving to a halfback flank and he's going to be a distributor out there. I saw him take a couple of kickouts, a couple of intercept marks on the weekend in the practice match. Definitely one I think can average somewhere between 80 to 85. I don't think he's going to light up the world in the role, especially with Luke McDonald back there. But I definitely think that he can average quite well and be a serviceable stepping stone to a keeper.
Hey, do you know Blakey's theme song?
No, I don't actually.
The UB40s?
Which one's it? I don't know. Blakey.
Don't tell my heart, my achy Blakey heart.
That's not UB40s. That's
What's UB40s?
That's Cyrus, Miley Cyrus's dad. What's his name?
One of the orgies.
No, I don't know. Whatever his name is. Yeah, the country singer. Anyway, you got that one
Billy
wrong.
Cyrus?
But I'm okay. Yeah, Billy Ray Cyrus. That's the one. But I mean, UB40, great band. And that rounds up the forward rookies. Give us your
mid prices. We're not doing it.
Forward mid prices.
Yeah, okay. Are we going down though? Surely you're including Danaher, Impey, Dow, like Paddy Dow. Can we at least touch on He has, since I had him in my side in my team
I wasn't
reveal
going
and I was
to, but
talking
apparently we
about...
are.
He's relevant. He's relevant.
Paddy Dow is not relevant.
He's relevant, 100%.
He's not even
He
relevant.
has gone from when I said, and when I put out my team, I said, don't shoot me. I'm thinking about Paddy Dow because, again, spoken about, great preseason, put on some size. He's really impressing them as he's coming out of the contest with some explosive power, etc., etc. Then all of a sudden he has a great was it a practice game?
Yep.
Right? Now he's in 15% of sides.
How is he in 15? That's
Yeah. He
That's
went
laughable.
from being 3%, 3 my lord, number
three,
three,
my lord.
number 3 my lord. Yeah, he's now like 15% of sides.
you
And
know-
rising. He's going to have another good game. He'll be like 30% now, 100%.
Do you know what Paddy Dow's highest ever Supercoach score is?
Yeah, probably about 85.
86 is exactly, and it was in a COVID year. And I wouldn't even, was it? When was this? 2018. So his first year, he had an 86 in round 19. He has never got anywhere close to that.
Yeah, this
He's
year
had
he
a few
will.
70s.
This year he
There's
will.
no other 80 score. He's had one score in the 80s his entire career.
This year he will. So is Caldwell. Caldwell's had like one score of 80 something. That's it.
Yeah, but Caldwell's getting a role of a centre back. He's going to be
And
a centre
Dow's
back
getting a good role too, Mr. Official
with
person.
Cripps, with Walsh, with Williams, with Kernow, with Setterfield.
Kernow's playing wing. I don't know what you're on about.
Yeah, and what about Nunes? Where's he playing?
Oh, he's playing for the VFL.
Where's Mark Murphy playing?
Mark Murphy's also playing on the wing and forward line and possibly defence, I think. He said
And so
multi-dimensional.
How is Paddy Dow going to be a centre bounce midfielder?
Murphy's going to be everywhere, just like one of those Eddie Murphy films.
Okay, I'm gonna. Here's what I'm gonna do.
Jeez, he doesn't
I'm
even
gonna
wanna
let
hear.
everybody else choose Paddy Dow, and then when he goes and sucks, I'm going to laugh a lot. Like probably over the top.
What's
I don't
the unders or overs then?
if he averages more than 70, I would be shocked. I would be absolutely shocked. And at 200K, you kind of have to, right?
Oh, yeah, you have to. But again,
All right.
slim pickings.
So you want to take overs on 70?
I was thinking just below 70. 68 and a half.
Maybe
Give me a
60,
one.
Maybe higher.
Give me a one.
69.
69. 68 and a half. So he has to score 69. There you go.
There's no way. Oh my god! There's
Yeah,
just no way that happens.
I'd go in with that because I know my good friend Carl will at least go me halves if I lose. He'd feel semi-responsible.
Oh man, there's no way Dow
You're right.
averages more than 70. I'll eat my own
okay,
words.
we've
I will
already-
literally write my words down on a piece of paper, throw it in my mouth, and eat
And
it.
eat it. You're right. Can we
literally
draw a
what happens.
penis on that?
Sure.
Just so you
It
can
makes
shove,
you feel better
so you
about
can
yourself.
Shove it in. Okay, I think that wraps us up. We've
Well,
already
tell us your
spoken
top-
about.
Tell us your top forward mid prices.
Okay, so forward line. I'm going, which we've already. Well, surely we have to include Zeeble, Danaher. We've already spoken about that in Chris's team reveal. So
If you want more information about Danaher,
we
go
went
to the
into
previous
depth, and we've
podcast.
already listened to Chris talk 10 minutes on 3 players in
And Impey
defense.
as well.
I'd probably say for me, I'm going Zeeble, I'm going Impey, I'm going Danaher, I'm going Dow.
Oh wow!
I'm going
Okay.
Timber. You
I'm
better
going.
move.
Number one for me is Caldwell's the only one that.
Oh,
is
sorry,
a-
yeah, Caldwell, number one.
Only one that's a mid-price option that could also be a keeper.
And Caldwell's.
And number two for consistency, I'm going to go with Jack Zeeble.
Yep, thank you.
And number three for cash
I'd say
purposes,
Impey.
Danaher.
Ooh.
No, I think Danaher makes more cash
Yeah,
and
maybe.
faster. I think Impey will be a slow burn, but he'll get you
I
to
think
a
they're
400K.
both good though. I think they are the top 4, and
Yeah.
then I'd say I don't know. I'm hoping rookies show up. If these midfielder rookies show up, then I might be laughing, and I might not be able. I might not get Dow. But if he shows up and plays well again, Dow, I could be suckered in big time.
Now, I did mention this briefly on the previous pod, but keep an eye, guys, on Alec Waterman. He kicked 4 goals in the practice match last week. He's only just been listed by Essendon today, and he'll be added into Supercoach in the coming days. He'll be 102K forward. I'm hoping he might be even forward mid.
Yeah,
Fingers
hopefully.
crossed with that. Pray to the Supercoach gods.
He used to be the Billy Boucher,
water
the Waterman, but hopefully he does well.
Did you know that water sucks? Gatorade is better.
Water sucks. It really sucks.
Yes, sir. Well done. All right, that pretty much sums it
Gatorade. H2O.
up. Yes,
Yeah.
brilliant movie.
That wraps us up. Look, this was a pretty long-winded one, but particularly
Mum
good
always-
for Mama always said.
No, you don't know Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, alligator so angry because it got all those teeth and no toothbrush. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like Mama's wrong again. You're wrong, Colonel Sanders. All right, that wraps us up. Look,
so
thank
good.
you. This was definitely draft relevant. This is bit of a spontaneous one here, guys. So look,
is.
apologies for the long-windedness, and if you are on a long commute or something, look, say hey, and we'll talk to you soon.
Catch you later, guys.
Alrighty, bye.
Bye-bye.